In this video, I've got some more tips for solving the last 4 centers after you've solved your first 3 cross edges. So now it's time to look at the last 4 centers. I guess the main overarching tip is that look ahead is probably quite easy for the last 4 centers, so you can afford to turn very, very quickly because it's not actually too hard to find centerpieces because you're only just looking around this middle layer, and also centerpieces only have 1 sticker on them, so they're naturally easier to look ahead for as opposed to, for example, edge pieces. As I mentioned in the intermediate module when I was teaching Yao, one good tip I can give you is just pretend that your thumb is glued to this front edge and these 2 fingers are glued to this back edge or this back side here, and then you're only using this 3R move, 2R move, outer face R and this U face to actually solve your remaining 4 centers. And these 3 fingers, or depending on how you hold it, but essentially these 3 fingers won't move out of place. So you'll never have to regrip or adjust like that. These should always remain in place as you're solving your last 4 centers. The other thing that you should practice is obviously getting super familiar with your color scheme so that you don't have to think about it very much during your last 4 centers, because you want to be thinking about actually solving the pieces and the moves you're doing to solve those, rather than worrying about, exactly where centers belong relative to one another around the middle slice. My first general instinct when solving the last 4 centers is to actually build bars on this left-hand side. So for example here, if I'm going for the blue ones, I would do a 3R move, and then just build that bar there. Noticing I didn't actually have any blue centerpieces there. So after doing that, I know that I've got this centerpiece here, and the other blue centerpiece must be on the bottom. In this case, it's over here. So we can do something like this to solve those. I solved those first ones on the bottom, and the next thing I want to do is solve a center adjacent to that. And in the cases where I solve the first center onto the bottom, or where they end up on the bottom, I'll generally go for the front center afterwards. And if I solve it so it's in the back, so for example here the blues are in the back, I'll try and solve the top center after that. So if I'm solving into the bottom, I'll go for the front center, and if I'm solving into the back, I'll go for the top center as my 4th center. Again, because I'm familiar with my color scheme, I know that the orange centers belong here, and again my instinct is to push this like that to create the bar on the left-hand side. So then when I rotate, I know I've got this one here, and I don't even have to worry and think, okay, all I need to do is just put this, match up these 2 and put them on the bottom. And I didn't even have to look when I was doing my 4th center there, because I already knew I'd put these 2 onto the left. And all I needed to do was to solve these remaining 2. Again, it's probably pretty handy to preserve things. So let's try and preserve this last cross edge as we solve our last 2 centers. So I'll just put it down here for the moment. I'll solve the bar onto the left, so solve these 2 green ones onto the left-hand side here by doing R prime, U prime, R prime, U, R, like that. And then I'll put these 2 down there. And I noticed, and I remembered, because I preserved these 2 here, I can go straight away and insert them into my last cross edge. One finger trick that I do like to do sometimes is use my left pinky to actually do slice moves on this second slice, so second middle slice. And this is particularly handy when we have cases where we need to do an R2 and then an L2 after that. So in this case, I've got this blue bar on the left, and I want to pair up this blue piece on the bottom and this blue piece on the top. And so I can do something like this. So instead of doing R2, L2, I'll do like slice R prime, L prime. And it's, it's not that, it's essentially doing the same moves, but it's just a nice little finger trick that I sometimes like to do, is use my left pinky to do slices here. And it's a little bit risky, but I think I'm pretty comfortable with it, and it's something you can try and learn and implement in your solves. So here, to solve these 2, I would do something like that. Because I've solved this blue one into the back then, I won't go and try and rotate and solve the bottom, even though they're easy. I guess my natural habit is to solve the top because there's no cross edge here, so we're not restricted in how we do that. So I'd solve the top. So I'd solve this line here first. And I noticed that as I was doing that, I created this line. So I can go L, F prime, L prime to actually keep this like that. And then just insert it into the back. And then solve these last 2, like so.